Aloha, everyone. Felicia Miller Johnson here. Welcome to All Intuitive Conversation. I am so excited to have Terry McDougall to join me today for this conversation. So, adding to the stream, aloha, Terry.
Aloha. How are you, Felicia?
I am doing well. And yourself?
Well, I actually had a booster shot of COVID, the COVID vaccine yesterday, and it doesn't feel very good.
I'm about to say, I had
But
mine what's today? Today's Monday. So, like last week, Thursday, or something like that.
mhm.
Yeah. And it was like worse than the first two for me.
It's not as bad as the first two for me because I was in bed with I think the first one, but still not great. But just goes to show it's probably like getting COVID. It's probably way worse. So I won't complain.
Right, exactly. Because it was like, okay, so I just have a sore arm a little bit. So it's like,
Yeah, my whole
okay,
body
like,
aches. But I'm
yeah.
happy to be here to talk to you. This is definitely brightening my day.
Yes, yes. Aloha. Well, looks like we have Dorothy Ann joining us as well. Aloha, Dorothy Ann. Thank you for joining us. Hello, friend. So the thing about all intuitive conversations, usually this is a very first conversation. So we do not know each other in the sense of having had a conversation. So I'm just going to start with, who's Terry? Tell me about her.
Okay. Well, I am an executive and career coach. I'm also the author of a book called Winning the Game of Work: Career Happiness and Success on Your Own Terms. I'm also a wife and a mom to 3 kids and, kind of dog mom to a 15-year-old puggle.
Yeah.
My mission in life really is to help people not only be successful at work, but also be happy because way too many people are just investing way too much time and energy in work and not getting a fair trade for their investment, if you will. And it doesn't have to be like that.
hmm Well, I'm already resonating because happy, Felicia means happy. Y'all know I'm all about that.
Yeah, that's right.
So, interestingly, Terry, do you know what your name means?
Oh, you know what? Teresa, and no, I did know at one point, but it's not coming to my name is not Teresa, but my name is Terry. But I think that the meaning would probably come off of the original name that Terry came from.
Interesting. Okay, you guys know we are always in this moment. So I definitely believe in the power of the name. So aloha, Gabe. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so Terry is an abbreviation of Terence and Terrell, which is also an angelized phonic from the French given name Thierry, Thierry, from an old Germanic name meaning powerful ruler of the
Ooh, I like it.
Ooh,
I like
yeah.
it.
Powerful. Okay, so y'all, we are talking to powerful Terry.
Well,
Um,
you know what, Felicia, that's perfect, right? Because what I'm all about is being powerful and being happy, right? That we shouldn't have to sacrifice so much of our life and our joy and our enjoyment in life for quote unquote success at work. So when we can have both of those things, to me, that's true success.
okay, so what got you there? Like, what side for you to say, I want to help other people to be powerful and happy? Was there a time you weren't happy
Oh yeah.
or not feeling
I mean,
powerful?
I guess it really kind of goes back to my childhood in that I was born to very, very young parents. My mom wasn't even 17 years old when I was born. And this was back in the 1960s. And my dad got a job with the telephone company. And I guess my parents decided that he would take this job that moved our family around. And so by the time I was 10 years old, I lived in 40 different places. That's 40.
Well,
And
pause, 4-0, y'all. That's
four
it. I think
zero.
you got me beat. I had a military background, so you have to beat on the movie. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, most of those moves were before I started school, but even once I started school, I was going to a different school in a different state every year. Um, but I'm also the big sister to. I have three younger siblings, and so I think just being a big sister. I mean, I guess first of all, when you have to move around so much, had to I mean, my superpower really is going into new situations and figuring out what's going on, figuring out
Yes.
what's the dynamic here, right? I had to develop that. Um,
Mhm.
but I like helping other people figure out what's going on too. And so I suppose as like the oldest of four girls that I wanted to help my sisters. And then even when I was in school, if I was able to, understand what the teacher was talking about and one of my classmates wasn't getting it, I would, try to teach them the way I saw it. And I just
Mhm.
got a lot of satisfaction out of that. And then, when I got out of college. I'm actually first generation college graduate. And I really wanted to, I actually think this goes back to like all the moving around and feeling like I didn't have a lot of power in my life, right? I just had to go wherever my family went. Um, I was good at school and I wanted to have a successful career in the corporate world, make a lot of money, because I wanted
Mhm.
to have more control in my life. And without having parents that had kind of worked in the corporate world, I didn't know how to navigate. So I just read a lot of books. I, really did what I'd always done growing up is like observe the situations and try to figure out like how do you navigate in the corporate world, because one thing I figured out pretty shortly after I started working was that what you do in school to be successful is not what you do in the workplace. Like keeping your head down and working hard and raising your hand to ask to go to the bathroom or whatever, getting
Right. You'll
permission
be
for everything.
recognized. Mhm.
That's not how you get recognized in the workplace. So I feel like I fell on my face quite a few times. I also had some good mentors along the way, and I hired coaches along the way. And I did eventually rise to the level where I was heading marketing for several businesses at a large national bank. And I guess I was at my last employer for 12 years, and I'd say 10 out of the 12 years I was really happy. And the last 2 years there, I was in a job that I didn't want. My boss
Mhm.
kind of voluntold me, like, you're going to go into this job. And I was like, I really don't want this job. But, I was a good corporate citizen and I took the job. I gave it my best try, but I just wasn't happy. I didn't feel like it was going to be a good fit from the outset, and it never really was. So that got me thinking, what do I like to do and what am I good at? I had actually gotten advice at the beginning of my career to read the book, What Color's Your Parachute? And that was
Mhm.
one of the things I learned from that book, which is to look at yourself first when you're looking at your career and say to yourself, like, what am I bringing to the marketplace? What do I like to do and what am I good at? So I did that in, probably towards the end of 2016. I was thinking, like, what am I good at and what do I like to do? And I always
Is that
really
when you
liked,
just Yeah, I was say,
go
is that
ahead.
when you discovered your superpower of being able to connect in, or
Well,
had you kinda tapped into that
I knew
before that?
that. I mean, I
Okay.
knew that. I knew that I was able, although I will say that, probably earlier in my career, I did not realize that other people didn't have that ability. Like things that were
Yeah.
really clear to me, I was like, okay, am I the only one that sees
Uh,
this? So along the way, I figured it out like, no, other people don't see this.
okay.
But,
Mhm.
I kind of recognized that the thing that I liked about being in marketing was helping people. It wasn't necessarily like, oh, we're going to do an award-winning ad campaign or we're going to beat the control on on a direct mail campaign. It was really about me sitting down with leaders in the company and understanding their problems and then coming up with a solution that would help them be more successful. And then I
Mhm.
also really liked coaching and mentoring people on my staff. And so I guess at that point, whenever I was kind of like, what do I want to do next? Like when I looked ahead, I did not see anything like on the logical path ahead of me that looked exciting or interesting to me. I was actually interviewing for other jobs and nothing was floating my boat. And
Right.
so I actually decided to leave my job. At first, I just thought I'm going to take a sabbatical and just kind of figure out what I want to do next. But
Right.
once I kind of started my sabbatical, I had a conversation with somebody who had kind of a similar background to me. She'd worked in PR, but it's kind of similar to marketing, and had also sort of gotten burnt out. And she became an executive coach. And so when she told me about the program she went through, I decided to look into it, and I actually decided to do that as well.
Mhm.
Initially, I didn't think that I would do it full time, but once the program took about 8 months for me to get certified, and just in that time from when I started till I got to the end, I thought, what the heck? I'll just give it a shot to do it
Mhm.
full time. And so um,
Were you happy during this time?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I was getting back in touch with myself because I was paying too high of a price for my quote unquote success. I was
Mhm.
I was feeling stressed. I was feeling unhappy. I was not feeling like I could just show up at work and be myself. There were a lot of pressures and issues in the role that I was in, and the majority of them had to do with the fact that the strategy wasn't well aligned among our different geographic areas. The way that
Mhm.
things were structured in the company weren't it wasn't logical. And it's funny. I mean, I am pretty good at like navigating the political waters, and I had for probably a couple years been talking about how I didn't feel like my team was in the right place in the organization. And of course, it's so funny because I left, and like 2 months after I left, they restructured and they moved my team to the part of the organization that it should have been all along. Um, so, so that was a little frustrating. But I also think that things happen for a reason.
Oh,
Like I
they
think I
always.
just wasn't meant to be there. I was meant to, kind of take a radical left turn and do something different in my life. And so
That moment right there.
I'm
So that
happier now for
moment,
sure.
yeah, so did you have a deciding moment?
Um,
Did you say,
it was
"That's it"?
happening kind of slowly but surely over the course of time. And there was a deciding moment, and it was when my boss sprung a negative, uh, performance rating on
Performance
me
review?
when I talked to him, you know, once every 2 weeks, and he never once mentioned anything about issues. And I
Mhm.
was like, you know what? I actually told him, if you feel like there's somebody that can do this job better, given all of the issues, and then I think that you should hire that person. And I decided to leave.
I wanna say in that moment, because just even what you shared thus far was 2 very important conversations, which is what we're just talking about. You had a conversation with a friend that told you about her life coaching type program
Mm-hmm.
changed.
Mm-hmm.
Here in this moment where you had a simple conversation with your boss that many people have, and I can tell you just from my past experiences and experience with other people, there has been a lot of decisions made during a performance review.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's so pivotal, like you said, like you see me almost every day. We talk
Right.
often.
Right.
And it's like you
Right.
didn't feel as though you could have had this conversation with me at any other point, but rather when we sit down here. But that's
Yeah.
why I say, these kind of conversations are so changing. They can change the direction, trajectory of somebody's life. And for you, that's what it sounds like. Like, okay, in that moment,
Yeah.
I decided, but now you do this, you do the coaching, and you're developing, you find yourself to be happier. So how do you reflect upon that moment now? Do you look at it as, oh, thank you for that moment?
Oh
Or
my gosh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because I feel like I've described it as like the frog in the lukewarm water, where it just like
mm,
by degrees goes up and up and up until the point where the frog is boiling to death. And that's kind of what was happening. Like I was really doing my best in a very much a less than ideal situation. And you know, sometimes there's, I mean, and I see this a lot in my coaching practice, is that sometimes there's only so much that an individual can do. You know, if the structure's not right, if the strategy's not right, I mean, you know,
mm,
when you work in a big organization, you only have so much control over what happens, right? If you don't have the budget or you don't have the resources, or if in this case the strategy was completely different in the different geographic regions, and you know, I only had responsibility for the U.S. and I was working with people in Europe and another in the home country of the
mhm.
organization, and you know, I can't just, you know, sometimes you can't drive from the back seat, right? You just can't drive from the back seat. So,
Okay. Yes. Okay. So have you ever seen the video of the little girl talking, giving her dad instructions about driving and focus
oh,
on what she's supposed to? Have you seen that?
no, I haven't seen it, but I'm a mom of three, and I've had plenty of my kids in the back seat saying, "Go, mom, go!" And I always would say,
Well,
"I
you
can't go any faster than the car in front of me."
keep going. So that's probably gonna be one of the messages that we will play, the backseat driver and what you can focus on and who you can help and who you cannot, help now. Okay. So you go through the personal development, you training and you develop yourself, and then you go out there and you're like, okay, I'm gonna start my own business
Hmm.
right away. And
Yeah,
did you ever
yeah.
have what I call fraud moments? Like, what the heck am I doing?
Heck yeah. I mean, a lot. And sometimes I still do. I don't have them as frequently as I did in the beginning, but um, yeah, it's scary.
So
It's
so what
scary.
is
I mean,
that?
I
So what does that imposter voice look like for Terry?
um, yeah, I mean, that's a good question. Um, it's just it's worry mostly that like, oh my gosh, am I going to get new business, and um, am I going to have to go back and get another job? I'm always challenging myself to push the envelope, you know, and to explore different paths, and that served me pretty well. I mean, I've put together, you know, what I would call a portfolio of work. You know, I've got my own clients. I serve as a adjunct coach for a couple of other companies. You know, it's just about, you know, doing what you do and making sure you got cash flow, right? And you do
Mm,
what you have to do to make that happen. Um,
mhm.
so I'm always sort of thinking like, how could I do this better? How could I optimize?
So how do you quiet that imposter voice?
You know, um, I think sitting with it. That's not always easy for me. I tend to like to, you know, avoid. I like to be busy, and
Mm,
sometimes I can have sort of shiny object syndrome. And what I've really tried to do, especially here recently, is just sit with it and feel the anxiety or feel the fear, and to realize like I'm surviving, you
mhm.
know, and in fact, I'm thriving, right? So, you know, I'm doing something that is extremely fulfilling to me.
Yeah.
And I really feel like this is something that I was meant to do. I mean, you know, you asked me about sort of the origin story of how I became a coach. And this is long before I was an economics major in college or before I got an MBA. I was helping people. I was, meeting people where they were and trying to understand, like, you know, what's the gap between where you are and where you'd like to go, whether it's, in fourth grade, helping somebody with their multiplication tables,
Mhm, mhm.
um, or, in college in a discussion group for a class, right? Just sharing. That's very satisfying for me. And when somebody can have a breakthrough and realize, like, oh, I was scared and I didn't know how to do this, and with your encouragement and maybe brainstorming, I was able to break through a barrier. I mean, there's nothing better, honestly.
Yes. Okay, so, um, this message, just based off of just what you said, and the video is, what I wanna share. So I'm gonna bring this up and get your thoughts on it, on what's going on. So it's this little girl, and like I said, it's this video, and she's struggling to get out of her car seat in the
Mm-hmm.
back. And so, so let's watch this. So let me share the screen and let's go here. So share and see what you think about this.
No. Why by yourself? Can I help? No. I'll help. I don't. You can help when we're LTE, okay? You can help when we are LTE. Okay. Do you have this thing? Probably. You want me to help, Rose? No. Thank you. No, thank you. What do you want me to do? What about yourself? What about yourself? I'll do this one, so gonna do that. You drive! What about yourself? Go drive! Go!
That's adorable.
So it's okay. So with that, stopping the screen share, it's like she's struggling, right? She's like, but she's determined, I am going to do this, I'm going to do this. And even her sister is sitting there like, Daddy, like, what are you doing here? Can she need help?
Mm-hmm.
Probably not. But it's like she's still polite, like she's gonna stay in this struggle
Mm-hmm.
of, "No, I'm gonna get it. I'm just gonna get it." But there's some degree of you're wanting to value her independence and wanting
I love
to,
it. I love it. I mean,
to take it, but then it's like, also, how do you see some of those things in your clients and the people that you help, that they're in that corporate seat and they are struggling? Like, how do your services provide help?
well, the interesting thing is that the people that I would equate to that little girl are the people that are dancing around getting started with coaching, right?
Mm,
That they're like, oh, I think I can do it myself. And I always look at it like, okay, if you've been trying this, again and again and again, and you're still getting unsatisfactory results, maybe it's time to try something different, And from a coaching standpoint, it's not about, you know, like in the little girl's situation, it's not about me, like, you know, opening up the door and pushing that button. It might be
mm,
showing her how to push that button, so that she can do it herself. Um,
mm,
and that's really what coaching is all about. It's not about me coming in and being like, I'm a 30-year executive. Let me come in and tell you how it's done. Because my situation is completely different from any of my clients, right? I mean,
mhm.
I
What I
can,
value what you said is that a coach's job, I'm not here to come in and push that button for you.
no, not at all. Not at all. And,
Mhm,
maybe it's to get curious about, what's keeping you from asking for the help that is going to get you to the thing that you want, right?
mhm, mhm,
Um, so it's adorable, and I definitely understand how people really value their independence. I mean, I certainly do. I mean,
Mhm.
I get a lot of satisfaction out of, you know, setting goals for myself and fulfilling those goals. And sometimes if we've tried something many, many times and we're not getting the results that we want and that we expect, I mean, maybe it's time. I say this a lot to my clients, like for high achievers, their first instinct is to zoom in, right? Is to do more, to go faster. And sometimes if you're not getting the results that you want, it makes sense to zoom out and look at the big picture and say, what am I missing here? Right.
Mm.
And sometimes you can't see what you're missing. And that's why it can be helpful sometimes to bring a coach in, because, I can hold the mirror up and help you see areas that maybe you're not seeing, something that might be in the shadows, or, maybe you don't understand like some nuance of like the political environment.
Right.
And once you do understand that, you can kind of show up a little bit differently and hopefully get different results.
Mhm. Well, that is a great philosophy in how you're coaching, because that is so true about, I'm not here to do it for you. I'm not here
No.
to judge you. But like you said, to mirror, to help you to see a
Yeah.
perspective that you're not seeing in this moment, and encourage you to take that next step. Like, hey, let's explore
Yeah.
this opportunity for that. So for you, what's the next step for Terry? What is it that you want?
Well, I mean, what I have started doing is since 2017, when I got my first client, I've mainly been working one on one with people. And I am starting to go into companies and do larger consulting engagements where I'm bringing in a platform, a leadership development platform that I've gotten certified in.
Mhm.
And I'm still doing coaching with senior leaders, but I'm coming in and introducing this technology-based L&D platform, and then also doing workshops that go deeper into the tools and the skills that they learn on the technology platform. So it's really about sort of corporate culture healing in some ways.
Uh-huh.
Um, we I think that we all know that coming out of COVID, that we're going into a new normal, but it's hard to know what that new normal looks like. And
Right.
we've heard a lot about the Great Resignation, and there are some pretty big gaps with a lot of organizations that in the past it was sort of like what do they it was it, the power dynamic was on the side of the hiring companies, and now there's a battle for talent, and I think companies are going to have to think a little more deeply and broadly about how do we appeal to people so that they want to work, so that they feel like it's
Mhm.
going to be satisfying, um, that they're going to feel good about what they do every day and not just do it because they have to pay the mortgage or pay the light bill or whatever.
Mhm. Yes. So, I was feeling compelled as you were talking, my deck of asking, like, okay, what is like a message from that? And then the card love was coming out when you were talking about, going back into the corporate world and being able to connect and reach with those individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, in premise, like, people want to be able to really love where they're at, what they're enjoying. I know
Yes.
it's a couple on here, but it's the message is about the love of where they're at, and asking those questions of
Yeah.
what it is that we're working, what are we doing here? Like, how do I love what I'm doing in that sense? And so there's one more I wanted to pull and get your thoughts on for encouragement, about what the triggers that may be experiencing from people at work right now. So what people may not be seeing, a trigger. Hmm. So the card starts with the theme of passion. We want people to be able to love what they do at work. And
Yes,
so the trigger
absolutely.
is, I am scared. Okay. But the true statement talks about when I am vulnerable, I'm at my strongest. Reconnect with your feminine energy and pursue something that ignites your fire. Open
Yeah.
the gates of your fortress and explore. And that's what better example of someone that they got someone in you that you ignited your passion. You wanted to go and do something
Yeah.
that you loved, which now you're going to take that and come back to those individuals in the corporate setting and encourage them. Because here's the
Yeah.
thing, y'all, we're not saying corporate's bad and everybody's got to leave it.
Oh,
Like, there are
I
people,
loved I loved working in business. I mean, I did it
you
for
know,
30 years. It was fun. I got opportunities to do things I never ever would have done had I just been an entrepreneur the whole time. I mean, it's amazing what you can do when you're part of a large, powerful organization. Um, but sometimes, sometimes it can sort of like put you between a rock and a hard place, and
the fortress, you shut in.
yeah,
Hmm.
right. Sometimes it feels like a meat grinder, right? That you can't be human, that you can't, be seen as an individual that has uh, unique talents and so forth. Sometimes people are treated sort of like, just get in that box, right, and stay in that box, right? And nobody wants to be treated like that.
Yes. So for those of you that are out there, you're thinking like, I'm scared and I want to figure out what it is that I love and what the passion wants to do so I can go into my day job and do this with, the power and be
Yeah.
excited about that. Encourage you to ask Terry, hey, let's have a conversation. How can people reach you, Terry?
They can reach me through my website, which is terrybmcdougall.com. And if they're interested in talking with me, they can set up a free exploratory call on my website. I'm also very active on LinkedIn, and my LinkedIn handle is Terry B. McDougall. So I'm happy to get connected with anybody who's listening today.
Yes. Awesome. Well, Terry, thank you so much for coming on to this All Intuitive Conversation podcast with me and sharing more about you. Of course, I hope this conversation will continue. And I do know that you will continue to live smart and ascend to new levels of success. Thank you for those that have joined us live and are also watching this as a replay. And until we meet again next week with our next guest. And Terry, just hold on for me and we're just going to play the outro here. All right.
Bye, Felicia. Thanks.
You're so welcome.